Welcome to Oregon Voters Digest, the program that brings forward the social and political issues that are important to people living here in the Pacific Northwest. And now, your host, Bruce Broussard.
Welcome, folks, to 2025. By George, this is it. This is going to be a heck of a year. A heck of a year. New administration from a national perspective. Former President Trump will be President Trump this time around. That's going to be interesting. So it's going to be an interesting 4 years. Got me? And there's all sorts of things that are going to be happening here in 2025. And the transition from 2024 to 2025, that was very exciting. There were issues there and memories that we're going to be basically talking about. This particular go around, John's going to be joining me. He's right here now, John Sweeney. In fact,
John Leuenberger.
Leuenberger. Oh, you see it? There I'm coming. This is 2024, now 25.
Yep.
I'm going to improve. I'm going to really forget.
It's okay. It's okay. I'll be here to remind you.
There you go, John. There you go. You see the entree this time around, 2025, folks. I've got a guy that's sitting right here with me. No problem. Okay. But anyway, that's what we're going to do. And then the following show, we're going to get into the new form of government.
Yeah.
And the lead-in piece will be basically the new form of government right here in the city of Portland, the living room of Oregon. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, the living room of the United States.
Yeah, there you go.
Because there's going to be all kinds of interesting things going to be happening here within our state via Portland, if you will, and other areas, and we're going to be doing that. And we're going to get the other two big guns going to be coming on with us next time around, John Sweeney. Yeah. And Bob Williams, both.
Oh, perfect.
We'll be talking about the Union and things of that nature. They've got a lot of history and memories, stuff like that. And that'll be the good entree, if you will, in 2025. And then we'll join them basically and kind of get a sense of where they're coming from. And then the following week, we'll be right back in the jobs. Sounds good? Okay.
Sounds good to me.
So why don't we start off with, let's start off with the sort of how it closed up, if you will, with some of the many entities that we were faced with. I mean, the media was closed with anything. I mean, besides football, football's going to be...
Football's huge. And Oregon lost, unfortunately.
That's
what
right.
A big loss for the Ducks.
So people are going to be sitting around there, too. In fact, they're probably looking at it right now because this is the show for Sunday.
Yeah.
They're going to be looking at the football, and football is going to be out, and then basketball comes in, and they'll do that. But the bottom line is that it's going to be it's a slow week, but it's not a slow week.
No.
The memories are going to be on the
We're coming up on some pretty fun, exciting days.
Yes,
we've got the mayor of Portland, the city council, or the new form of government being put in office. We've got President-elect Trump taking back the White House.
That inauguration is going to be a neat deal. That's the 20th, I guess.
I believe so. Let's find out.
The inauguration aspect of it, when he'll be sworn in. Will be sworn in.
It is. The 20th is Inauguration Day, which also is Martin Luther King Day.
Martin Luther King Day. That's right. I mean, Martin has always been there.
Yeah.
Martin has always been there. We've always looked at it and whatever, and so maybe there's some transition there. Some
historical figure from our past that tragically passed.
Yes. Very, very interesting piece. And so anyway, so getting right back to where we're going to be going here now, we're going to be talking about the eulogy. President Carter. I thought that was a very interesting piece of some interesting things. We're going to discuss those things.
Yeah.
That was a very interesting piece. And then the fire in California, but brought in other entities, other things that were worldwide, so to speak.
And what we want is just start thoughts and prayers to the people of California who are being affected by that fire. Devastating losses in the Palisades, in L.A., in Malibu.
Oh my God.
These people are facing one of the most devastating fires of 2025, and we were just barely getting started, but of LA's history. This is a terrible fire, and we want to our thoughts and prayers are out to those that are being affected at this time. It's so sad that this is going on, but hopefully we can talk about some things to maybe make it better for the city of Los Angeles, the state of California. Oregon is not free from those types of problems. I mean, yes, we have more water.
Yeah.
Yes, we don't get the winds, but we have a lot of fire.
Uh-oh.
We have we have a
excuse
lot
me.
of trees.
See, someone's calling me. This was Jim calling me. But anyway, sorry about that. Let me cut this thing off. No problem. We're in good shape. Keep going.
We have plenty of trees and foliage that, if not taken care of, could have devastating fires as well.
Yeah. Guess who's starting all this stuff? I think just reminding us. It's called Mother Nature.
Yeah.
Mother Nature said, "Hey, wait a minute. You know, I mean, we've given you. You got all your tools, and you can. Hey, look, I'm still here."
Right. Well, you know, wildfires are
here.
part of the history of this nation. It's not just a problem for our time.
Oh yeah, well, back in the early days. I mean, when we weren't even here. I mean, Mother Nature took care of itself. You know what I mean?
It did. It did.
But now all of a sudden, they're telling us something.
I think so. I think we're being reminded that we're not in charge, right? This planet is for us to enjoy, but we need to live in coexistence with this planet, not try and take it over and bend nature's will to our will. It's not going to work.
Because this really was a desert land. It was just a desert. California was just desert, you know.
Desert.
That's what it was, a desert. The coast, right?
Yep.
All sand sitting up there. And all of a sudden the trees and whatever, and then all of a sudden the oil, people took all the oil out the ground.
Oil, gold.
All the gold, the holes in the mountains and this, that, and the other. I mean, after a while, that water keeps seeping down there. Something's got to shake, right? You got me?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things there. And I'm sure we'll be talking about nature quite a bit now as a result of that.
I think we should. I think we need to coexist with nature.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, we've been given this planet by God to watch over and to take care of.
Yeah.
And if we don't do it well, Mother Nature's going to kind of nick back at us, isn't it?
So why don't we start off? In fact, why don't we start off with respect, if you will, to the guy that was quite an president for that. I'm talking about former President Carter.
Yep.
And it's going to interesting. Now you're really getting into what his full life was. You know, from Georgia. You know, that was a kind of interesting piece. So if you had the opportunity to see the eulogy, they really talked about history. They really talked about memories that would really bring you up to date in regards to who he was.
100 years of life.
Oh,
right?
Very much so. But he was quite a guy, and I'm thinking about Andy Young, who was a former United Nations representative under the Carter administration. I thought that was an interesting piece. Yeah. He's part of that eulogy. And the other thing that I thought when they started announcing this whole piece, he began, and they made the point about the fact that he never had any notes.
Andy Young
had no notes at all during that entire eulogy aspect of it. He spoke this piece, and there were other entities that spoke, but I thought it was a good entree the way they did that piece, and his son and grandson and all this other stuff, they were all involved in that piece. There was a lot of history there. I was looking at the somberness, if you will, of all of the former presidents that were sitting there, and
you had. You had the sitting president,
yes.
President Joe Biden,
yes.
sitting next to Vice President Kamala Harris,
right.
the loser of this most recent election.
Yeah.
Then you had Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton sitting right in that second row with George Bush and Laura Bush. And then you had President Obama, but Michelle was missing. You had President-elect Donald Trump and Ivanka Trump.
Clinton.
Clinton was on the far side.
With Hillary.
With Hillary, yes. Right. And then we had in the third row, at least on camera,
all the VPs.
we had Al Gore and his wife and Mike Pence and his wife.
The VPs.
Interesting how they didn't put Pence and Trump next to each other, right?
Right. Well, they could. Well, they want presidents, you know.
They want presidents, but there's also a little bit of bad blood between those two.
Well, but in all due respect, a lot of times there are things that are not talked to.
Yeah.
You know, the fact of the matter is that he was a vice president, some were president, some were vice president, and their stories right there. I mean, their stories just sitting there. I mean, each one of those individuals could have talked about, you know, the time that they were in office. Let's put it that way.
Well, at this point, how many? Over 20 years, close to 30 or 40 years of former presidents or presidents at this. That are, you know, we've got. Bill Clinton, who served in '92. What was it? Yeah. And from '92 to the current administration, they were all sitting there. Yeah. That's a lot of history, 30 plus years.
And then here's President Carter, former President Carter.
Yep.
The oldest president that lived that long.
Yep.
Right?
Former president that lived that long.
And then there's just little pieces. We don't have any notes too, by the way, folks. The fact is, we're just talking because the fact is that there's so much on the table. I'm
referencing some things on my iPad because I don't have a great memory, but Bruce has got a fantastic memory.
Oh, yeah, yes, you're right. Well, anyway, but no, there was some things there that some of the highlights there during that particular eulogy aspect of it. I thought that the presenters were very interesting in terms of how they presented. The grandsons of Carter brought some issues out and parts of his administration aspect of it. They brought some memories. I don't know them all per se, but they're here. They're here, and like I said, Andy Young, I thought did an excellent job. He brought up some. It's interesting, and he talked about the whole issue of segregation too during that particular time. You know, living in that area during that particular time and being appointed by Carter, living right in the Delta. You know, right in the South, in the South, and how the transition of race, if you will, the whole issue of races, all that kind of good stuff that came up.
Georgia was part of that.
Georgia was part of that stuff, and he represented, by the way, and he was representing in his farm and this, that, and the other. It was about 25% were white, and the rest of them were all
a lot of African Americans down there
in that area. But yet he was elected. You know, he went all the way from the Senate right on into the presidency. You know, just a guy, and he and his wife. I mean, very family oriented, very religious man. And how he and his wife really maintained that unity for family, so to speak, and they were always together. And then how he got into housing. He got into housing early on during his presidency, going around in Habitat for Humanity.
Yes, I mean, his philanthropic efforts on the
here we are today, still talking about housing.
We are, yes, but he was a great man. He gave a lot of service to communities that desperately needed it. After his time as president of the United States, you can't fault him. That was fantastic work. I wish more presidents, I wish more politicians did that, gave back to the community, worked in those programs.
But he was treated he was snobbed quite a bit during that particular time, though. You know, from the standpoint, he wasn't ineffective, he wasn't smart, he was this, that, and the other.
Yeah, he was.
But the bottom line, he was identifying with issues that wasn't on the table. It was kind of interesting. Each of the presidents have brought things to the table, if you will, for discussion, and people would attack those things in a negative way, saying, well, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But then once they're gone, now here we are looking at Carter, and we're reviewing that time that he was in office. And there were some things there that I did not know, because guess what? Media wasn't sharing those things. Got me? The opposition was in charge. The opposition was, during that particular time. Sometimes we get caught up in that same arena because we're part of that media thing ourselves, if you will, and you're pretty well dependent, if you will, of that piece. So anyway, so the eulogy was neat, and the folks who spoke during that particular time, each had their own piece. Each had something to say that hopefully would be taught in American history or social studies in the schools and whatever. They could take some of those things and share them with the young folks, with the beginnings, because those are the futures, if you will. And we're lacking that kind of a deal. But they brought it on the tube, and then I looked at the other stations to find out what was on these other stations. Some didn't have it.
Oh, some didn't have the funeral on.
Some didn't have it, and folks were just doing their thing, if you will, and then that's the fires were going on at the same time.
When something like a national tragedy, I guess John F. Kennedy's death was a little different, but back then there weren't the massive amounts of news options,
yeah.
but everyone's eyes were on those types of tragedies and the funerals when we had less. You know, we had ABC, NBC, CBS, and that was pretty much it.
But Walter Cronkite was the one. I like you said when you said Kennedy. Walter Cronkite, remember Cronkite was
I do
there.
remember Cronkite.
And when Kennedy was assassinated, if you will, you know my point?
Right.
Cronkite was the one. That's the first memory that comes to mind, because he was the one that made the announcement on media. And then that wasn't, the others didn't carry it as much. But Cronkite, I could remember Cronkite. Of all the folks doing that media piece, his photo was there, and he was the one that made the point. And
what a devastating loss for our country, though.
Yes,
John F.
yes,
Kennedy.
yes.
He was doing things to move the American people in the right direction, and he was needlessly killed by the powers that be. And it was so sad, but the coverage was... Cronkite started it, but then everybody jumped on.
Yeah, then they jumped on.
They jumped on board.
Just like Carter, in many ways. What would have happened had Carter been able to get another 4 years for housing?
Yeah.
That's huge, and it happened as a result of the fact that the embassy up in, was it Iran or one of those countries, Iran, they had a coup, and basically it picked American citizens up and this, that, and the other, and that was a thing that prevented him from being reelected.
Okay.
They identified that, you know what I'm saying? But imagine, because housing was huge even to today. But here he was building houses around the country, and identifying the whole issue of housing, of lack of housing, if you will. But he started out with the poor.
Yeah.
He started out with the poor and the families and whatever, making sure that they had housing. And here we are today.
Who's doing that now?
Oh my God. Well, in all due respect, we really don't know.
Well, I can speak for my community. I reside in Lake Oswego, and there is actually a Habitat for Humanity project on Boone's Ferry going up right now.
Okay.
So thank God we have this program in effect still, and we both spoke that Carter really worked well with Habitat for Humanity.
Oh yeah, he and his wife both.
And I think him putting it in the limelight helped its popularity, and we have programs now that give people who might not have.
But who's the new Carter though? In housing.
Who is?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Someone needs to step into the limelight and do that. But I also think, normal citizens like you and me could just be a part of it, and we don't need the recognition. We just need to work together.
Okay, right.
Build community, right?
Right.
I think that people who get the limelight tend to lose focus on the real issues.
Right. Well, in all due respect, we got a new incoming president.
Yes, we do.
President Trump. Former president, but he's going to be Trump. He's
President-elect,
he's going to be president on the 20th for sure.
Yep.
But I noticed that the thing that comes to mind in terms of where his focus is, he makes the point about, you hear the point about drill, baby, drill. That's the energy, the whole issue of energy.
Yeah, energy independence for the United States.
That's right. And it really impacts the economy.
Right. Well, he started it.
Yes.
As president.
Yes.
He started the the pipeline from Canada into the United States, and our current administration stopped that.
That's right.
And they're trying to lean towards more green energy. Yeah. Well, green energy works for this and that.
It depends.
It depends. You're right.
But the bottom line, you got the economics aspect of it, which we were suffering big time. Got me?
Yes.
And automobiles, you were going from fuel to electric, and that transition bothers me to a certain degree. I mean, when you start thinking about getting to work and this, that, and the other, who's gonna? How's the average person going to be able to purchase an electric car?
Well, the timeline for the 2030 cutoff and only using electric cars from 2030, that doesn't work.
That doesn't work. No.
We can speak to the Californian wildfire situation where the programs of electricity, they're failing. They're failing the Californian people, right? how would an electric-powered society work when they can't even get the electricity working the way that they need to? Texas is a perfect example as well. Texas has one of the biggest grids. It has its own grid. And every summer, every winter, when they start pulling on the resources, because Texas gets hot. And right now it's getting real cold. They're having snow for the first time in how long? When people turn on their heaters, when they turn on their air conditioners, and they draw on that power, and then brownouts across the state, or at least in those areas where they're having these intense climate changes, how are they going to be able to power the cars that they want to do? Plus, don't even get into where the resources come for these cars, right? Slave labor in Africa. They're sending people into the mines for cobalt, and they're exploiting this labor because it's cheap. It's affordable to do that. You might feel good about getting into an electric car. However, you got to look at where it's coming from, the source. It's not a clean industry by any means.
Here in our state, here in Oregon, for that matter, the heating home, all of a sudden, electricity is going up, if you will. It's impacting everyone.
It is.
Seniors and when you start thinking about just locally from the same, but the company that tends to come out is PGE.
PGE rate hikes.
Jesus
how have they been in the past couple of years?
Oh my God!
Since COVID.
Yes.
Every year since COVID. Yes. What is it, like a 15+% increase in power?
Yes.
What are they doing? Where's that? What's up with that money?
Well, that first question that Norman would ask is that, what about the board that supposedly signs off for the rate increase? These folks are appointed by the governor. They're appointed. These are supposed to be just regular citizens, if you will, owners, if you will, because they're just independent individuals. You know what I mean? But the idea, who are these folks? Who makes the decisions, if you will? You know what I'm saying? And as one would say, follow the money, You
should follow the money. At least 15% rate hike year over year. You look at 2020 to now, that's a pretty substantial increase for a basic necessity that we all have. We all need power, or at least we have put into our society the need for electricity.
We're told that during that particular time when you really need the heat, when it's cold and whatever, you can't burn wood.
You're not allowed to burn wood for some reason.
But guess what? Look at California right now. There's a lot of heat there. Is there any way of controlling that heat?
Oh no, unfortunately
and sharing
not.
it with the rest of the country.
It'd be nice.
And just on that particular point with the PGE piece, I called down. Called down and asked them basically to a certain degree, through me, asking them, well, what are you doing about senior citizens? You would have thought that they would know, because they've got all of the numbers, the phones, and this, that, and the other, the house numbers, and this, that, and the other, that they would know where every senior is living within their area.
Of course not.
Okay? And then they would have sent them notice out from the standpoint of saying, okay, fine, and let's see, we're going to basically make sure you get that discount, because this is going to be coming up.
There's no money in that,
you
right?
Understand what I'm saying? And you should have seen and heard what I was getting back, and I was talking to this particular person.
I would have loved to hear.
Trying to basically challenging me. Now he already had my age and all this other good stuff. He was fighting me. He was basically saying, let me see if you qualify. Well, what's the definition of qualifications? You know what I mean? He already got my track record. I've been living in this house for a long time. And the guy was arguing with me about the fact that I wasn't a senior, so to speak. I mean, that's what I was getting out, if you will. But yet and still, I said, well, I tell you what, I have to make a payment every month. You have that.
You make sure to get that from me. But you doubt my... well, I mean, as a veteran of the Vietnam War, you would think you'd get just a little bit of respect.
Something. You got my point? And sure, I'm sure that maybe there's no such thing as 90% of the seniors are well-to-do. You got my point? For sure. But yet and still, you're having to argue just to Qualify yourself.
And the increase in Social Security isn't commensurate with what you're getting for price increases,
the money that
right?
you put in.
You put in the money, but you're not getting an increase that's equal to the price increase of PGE, of your water, sewer, power, of your internet. Because internet is a basic necessity at this point.
Big time.
You have to have internet in order to live in this society. And you know, they go unchecked. Xfinity, all of these other Verizon, AT&T, they go unchecked with their price increases. They don't give you more for what you're paying. They're just saying, give us more money. Well, Social Security isn't giving you more money to cover those costs. So how are they expecting you to pay?
Oh my God. And then the idea, who's controlling that paycheck? See, that's the key. See, and in most cases, you think these are elected officials, actually employees of the paying public who are employers. And I think that's another thing that's come out to date, and hopefully 2025. We're going to talk about that. You know, I mean, I'm getting the feel, from the new administration in terms of identifying with specific issues like energy, like the whole issue of mental illness, housing, and things of that nature. Now we're going to look into those. What services are we as citizens paying for? You got my point. And where is the money going?
Well, back when Social Security was instituted by FDR, so many people, it was a lot of people that went in to pay for one person's Social Security. Now it's like 2 or 3 people pay for one person's Social Security. That's not enough to cover the cost of Social Security. And say what you will about FDR and what he did to refuel the economy during his time as president, but I think Social Security is one of those institutions that probably shouldn't have been instituted.
Yeah, but guess what? What do you do? But what is the purpose for Social Security is to take care of that ending piece, right?
Right. Well, you're benefiting from Social Security, and others like you are benefiting.
No,
from Social
maybe
Security.
not.
well, you were at one point,
right?
People like me, people who are paying into Social Security for the promise of a paycheck in the future, we will never see that money.
Well, I'm getting a portion of mine. And
You're getting a portion.
A lot of years.
Yeah, you've been putting in for a lot of years.
And then they're questioning that.
Right. Well, do you really deserve it?
You want more. But the key is that where does the money go? You know, a lot of times it's subsidizing the government. You know, it's subsidizing our elected officials up in D.C., if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, please let's not talk about that part, about the wages and whatever they're getting to a certain degree. But thinking about that whole issue of PGE, when I think about that, not getting right into the fires aspect of it, they're constantly making the point every year. This whole issue of the Santa Ana winds come through that so-called gorge, right?
Right, down in California, yeah.
Every year.
And
then at the same time, I think about PGE said, well, some of that money that we're putting these windmills up in various locations to see if we can get some of that, get that electricity,
clean energy,
so that we can maybe lower your bills. Lower your electric bills.
You'll never get your bills lowered.
And I was saying, well, when I looked around and they were taking photos of that whole gorge area where the fire was coming, I saw no windmills. I just saw a bunch of houses all closed in together. I mean,
well, now there's no houses.
Now there's no housing.
They're gone.
Yeah. Now where are the windmills?
Well, those windmills are probably going to go right where those houses are.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Everybody want to get near that water. Look, people are going to be rebuilding. The insurance company's going to have to pick up the tab.
Well, but State Farm, 6 months before this happened, was cutting people's fire insurance in California.
Not now.
Well, who stepped up and picked up the bill?
That's right.
Because we have insurance companies who refuse to pay out insurance premium or insurance policies when people are paying a premium for that insurance protection.
Yes.
I would like to see how the people that are being affected now in Palisades, Malibu, Los Angeles counties.
What about here? I just got to raise on mine. Right from insurance companies are raising their rates here now.
Yeah, well, because we have to pay for what they're about to pay for.
Jesus Christ, boy.
I don't know.
Anyway, we got an issue.
We do have issues.
So consequently, I would say, in all due respect, the newly elected person, whoever sits in that seat, they're reacting, if you will, to energy. That's their issue, one of their main issues, which makes a lot of sense because you got to have something to move those cars. You need transportation and the economy aspect of it. It's a huge piece.
When I was in high school, 18 years ago, I did a project. I had a research project that I did for an English class. And I looked into the viability of nuclear power.
I remember that. Okay.
Nuclear power, right? Something that we don't utilize in the United States nearly enough. Nuclear power could provide us clean, it is clean energy for a fraction of the cost of what we have now. The water, the hydroelectric, the wind, the solar. If we instituted nuclear power plants, we could get energy costs down significantly. The research that I did, it was amazing to see the difference in, and this was 18 years ago, right? This is a long time ago. I'm sure it looks even better now, 18 years later, with all the advances in nuclear reactor technology that they've made, if they've made that. But why aren't we investing in nuclear energy? I know that people are worried because of Chernobyl and 3 Mile Island. But they have such safety protocols. Well, first of all, Chernobyl was built during the Soviet Union, and there were not the safety practices in place.
But everybody was reacting to it. I mean, they were basically looking at it from a futuristic standpoint.
They were
at the time. Okay?
But the Soviet Union made sure that they got it up as quick as possible. There weren't the safety stops that we would have now. No. And not only would it be helpful for us to invest in nuclear in this country, but the waste that people worry about, nuclear waste, you can reintroduce a lot of that waste to be used in the utilization of the power. And any waste that we do have, we can ship down to where they tested all of the nukes before they blew up Japan, Nagasaki, and Hiroshima. We can take that waste down to Nevada and store it where they currently store other nuclear waste. I think it's something that we need to look into.
Well, yeah, but see, as you know, there's an activism that goes with it. Any package deal.
Well, there's not money in nuclear energy,
but
right?
We're not educating the public as a whole. And here comes with this education piece. You would think that education piece starts at K1. Got me? I'm saying right through the schools and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So by the time people are, they're now they're more available. I mean, they're more aware, if you will. But there's no such thing under our present system.
No, you're right. In research or research can be done into nuclear power energy. And education can be done, but it's lacking. Instead, they want to recognize that, wind power is good. Well, wind power kills a lot of birds. When you look at it, there's a lot of bird devastating.
You're talking about those wind jobs.
Yeah, those wind turbines. They kill lots of birds. It's not good for the environment to kill all of these animals.
But they know. They know that. But they keep billing them.
Yeah.
Because follow the money again.
Right. There's money to be made.
Who owns the land?
Who does own the land?
Who owns the land?
You tell me. I don't know.
Well, there's a list. I know PG's got one.
Yeah?
Because they've got to buy the land.
Well, but they won't give you that information. That's privileged information,
What do you mean
right?
privileged? No, it's public information because...
It is, but do they give you the information?
Well, all you do is just say, tell the board who represents us, do they
really represent us?
I want that information, huh?
Do they really represent us, or they represent their own pocketbooks?
Who are these people?
I would love to know, too.
Why were they appointed? Oh, by the way, they are getting paid, by the way. You know that, don't you?
Of course they're getting paid.
Yeah, they get paid. They get paid. Seriously. They get a check.
They get a check.
They get
every
a check
single month.
From the public.
Yeah.
They get a check from the public. That utility piece.
Well, I guess it's up to us to start asking questions.
Yeah, so we just ask the governor, right? Call the governor's office.
Yeah.
Oh, well, hey, she's still, she's an employee.
She is an employee. Do you think she'll actually answer our questions?
Well, Tina, will you please give us a listing, one, of the appointees at
At PGE.
at PGE and for the utility and whatever, and at the same time tell us how much they're making, right? You got me?
I would
And what are
like
the charges?
from the state of Oregon,
Yes.
from Governor Tina Kotek,
Yes.
I would love an accounting of all of the tax money that is brought into the state, and I want to see where it goes.
Oh boy, that's,
I really do.
that's ooh, wow, gee, really.
That's an important thing for us. I think that the Oregon citizen is paying enough in taxes, and every year they're asked to pay more and more and more in taxes.
Yeah.
I want to see the paper trail. I want to see it in my hands. And if it's available, then make it more readily available. Put it on the Oregon.gov website. Let's see it. I'm sick and tired of being taxed and taxed and taxed and not seeing representation for that taxing.
Well, it's okay as long as you know where the money's going.
Well, but where's the money going?
Well, you just ask the question, right? That's what. So besides yourself, I would like to make sure that the viewing audience will give her a call too.
Let's ask. Let's start asking these elected officials who we're paying their salary. You know, we're in the city of Portland now, right? You're about to pay each city councilman or each $150,000 a year. Start asking where the money is going, because that's a lot of money out of your pocket, the Portland citizen that you're paying their salary. Where is the money going?
In all due respect, we can ask the mayor. He's the chair.
Yeah, he's getting paid too. So let's see where his
and he's a businessman. He understands that. He really understands what that's all about.
Well,
as a business
the IRS, the Oregon Department of Revenue, they definitely look into his finances to see where the money goes before they give him any tax breaks.
Exactly.
So
he's a businessman. He understands that.
We, as the people of the city of Portland, the state of Oregon, need to start asking questions, need to start demanding that they show us where our money is going.
Okay. Well, what you're basically saying at the same time, to normally media in their spiel, if you will, in terms of their responsibility, normally they deal with those kinds of issues, right? I mean, so we're asking media that that be part of the job. Just basically interview the governor and you start there.
Well, Governor Kotek, you want to come on to Oregon Voters Digest?
Oh, yeah, well, she's on now because we're asking you the question.
I would love to see the answers or the response to this question.
It's not being anti-her. It's just that that's her responsibility.
It is. We're paying your salary. Now tell us where the money is going. Please. Please do. I mean, we have seen that you opened the office for the First Lady and you were spending a lot of money on your wife, but let's see where the rest of the money is going. Because I mean, I'm a citizen who's kind of sick and tired of being taken advantage of for my taxpaying funds. I could be taking that money and reinvesting it in myself, but instead I've got to pay the powers that be, who are elected by me, who are being paid by my money, along with your money and everyone else in the state of Oregon. I'd like to see where that money is going.
Well, it's a responsibility. You know, when they get elected, the whole idea is that we're electing people who hopefully are going to respond to the issues that we're talking about right now today.
Right. Well, and let's talk about the California wildfires, right?
Okay,
let's
jump right
get
on
into that subject. So the citizens of California, our neighbor to the south, the people that we definitely vote similar to the people of California. They have elected officials who are now being asked questions and being held accountable for their lack of preventative measures to ensure that these fires don't continue to ablaze. I mean, there's been 0% control of these fires. That's outrageous.
Yeah, that's heavy.
That's outrageous.
Then again, follow the money, or follow the entity that basically instituted that situation from the standpoint. You got me? Well, in all due respect, the unions are very much involved, the labor force. Because people are concerned about the fact that the labor, how they're being treated, if you will, the kind of gear they wear. You got me? What they can do, what they can't do, that type of thing. Well, normally the business is supposed to identify and dot those I's and cross those T's about wear and safety and all that other good stuff. But again, part of that mechanism, the union is there to make sure
Right.
That's happening.
So let's talk about that. So Mayor Bass
Yes.
approved a budget for the city of Los Angeles for $13 billion that reduced the LA Fire Department's funding by $17 million.
By $17 million.
Now they had an $800 million budget, but for 2025 she reduced it by $17 million. Some of those cuts included not checking fire hydrants regularly. And now look at what's happening in some of these areas. Some of these areas, the fire hydrants aren't working so that the fire department can't fight these fires. They're saying, oh, well, it's a pressure issue.
Pressure.
Well, if there was a pressure issue...
The tanks weren't filled, because that's the old style, by the way.
Right.
You put water in the tank, right?
In the reservoirs.
In the reservoir, yeah, but those are big tanks sitting up there with water in it, see? And the idea is that thing's supposed to be constantly filling in.
Yes.
Constantly. Supposed to be full, you know, just every day without the fires, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Just constantly. But they were empty.
Yeah, they were empty. So where's the water? Where's the water? We know that they're living in a desert and water is hard to come by in a desert, right? But why weren't these checks gone through? Why did they approve stopping these checks when we have a raging fire that, if they had just done the preventative measures, could be taken care of at this point? It is outrageous. I have people that I know that I am close to through some of the work that I do in AA that are being obliterated by this fire. It is scary. These people are being affected so poor, and the mismanagement of the city, of the governor. I mean, Governor Gavin Newsom. Now, we can't put all of the credit on him. I think it's the left-leaning voting that is done by the city, by the
Well, it's the whole
citizens.
batch. It's a whole batch of employees that we instituted.
Right. Well, the state of California, they tend to vote left-leaning, right?
But still,
and they put these left-leaning.
But they got in. They got in.
They put them in.
They
right?
put them in. They put them in.
power.
Regardless of once you get elected, you represent everybody. Okay.
You do.
That's what you're supposed to.
You're supposed to, but they're funding woke ideologies or woke.
Well, you better share that with the average folks who don't know what woke is, because in all due respect, now they're really interested.
Yeah.
So what is woke?
Well,
WOKE?
Woke is being aware of social norms and trying to fit into social norms. So one of the things.
You said a lot, but what does it?
What does it mean?
Yeah. What does it mean?
That's a great.
In lay terms,
it's voting with your feelings, or going with your feelings and not with logic, in my personal
You're
opinion.
getting deeper now. Still, what does woke mean?
Okay. Well, why don't I look it up for us so that I don't keep going? So the definition of woke.
Why are you looking for that?
I've got it right here.
Okay, good on.
Aware of and actively attentive to important societal facts and issues, especially issues of racial and social justice.
Okay, just racial and social justice. Well, that's an issue. You got to divide it. We got a divided country. So consequently, you got one folks that says I'm for woke, and then the other side is saying I'm against woke. Okay.
Yes.
The definition of it. And then you mentioned the issue of race. That's a big issue still.
It's a big issue.
Unfortunately, you would think that should have been watered down quite a bit. You know what I'm saying? But it's here. Okay, we admit that's here. That's going to be on the plate. That has to be on the table, if you will. We got to get rid of that.
Well, so
through education and to some other means, other areas.
Yeah. So I listened to a comedian, or I used to listen to a comedian, Adam Carolla.
Yeah.
He is a famous comedian down in Los Angeles who's been affected by these fires.
Yeah.
He applied at the age of 19 to be an LA Fire Department member. Okay. At the age of 19, he's a white, strong male.
Yeah.
Okay. 7 years. He even admits this. You listen to some of his podcasts.
He's still angry.
No. This is a long time ago. This is 7 years after putting in his application to the LA County Fire Department. He gets a call to go do the testing. And it's been 7 years. He's a carpenter. He's 26 now, right? He starts asking people around him, "Hey, when did you apply? When did you apply?" Okay. Well, he talked to a woman of color, 5'5" 5 feet tall. He said, when did you apply? When did you put in your application? When did they tell you could start testing? I put my application in on Wednesday. This is back in the 80s. 80s or 90s. This guy who was a white male was not chosen based on his physical attributes or how he could do the job, but based on his skin color.
But at the same time now let's make sure we brought in the affirmative action piece came in, okay? You got
I understand.
And we set the quota piece aspect there.
Right.
But there's still folks who didn't get the job, even if you have a person of color, because other folks preceded that, or they had a limitation in terms of how many people can go on the job.
Well, I am all for
throwing
making sure that the workplace is diverse. Yes.
Okay. Well, that's another system. I'm just saying.
However, we should not be looking at people and giving them. I think it's important to pick the right person for the job.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're trying to get to.
And a firefighter needs to be a big, strong, usually man.
I'm sure that discussion hopefully came about, had to be talked about, when in fact they implemented the whole issue of set-asides. I'm throwing something on the table.
Okay.
So the word set-aside comes in, and then it came up with the percentage. 10% of the job has to be blah, blah, blah. 10% of the employees, 5% of the employees. Now, normally there's a committee that has that discussion.
Yeah.
You got me? So we have to follow the money again. Follow the situation.
But the current LA fire chief is very happy with her very diverse.
You got gays, you got lesbians, you got all kinds of. I mean, the definition
very
is not
diverse
just,
fire department.
You got to remember now, the definition of that individual from the vaccine, all that other stuff, is not just a person of color.
Right, no, it is based on their gender identity or their sexual orientation.
Disability, all that kind of stuff. In all due respect, even the military has a preference in that arena.
Yeah, DEI is
they have a
very much inside.
So what I'm saying, with the person that you're talking about, you're right. I mean, you think about the police department the same way. It's supposed to be a deterrent, if you will. A person should be qualified enough, big enough, tall enough, the whole nine yards, to be able to do their thing. You see, and then that's changed, as you know. There's a change.
Well, Portland Police Bureau is suffering because of those choices.
So, whoever made those decisions, if you will, like elected officials, like the ones that are coming up now. Making $150 apiece. We got a lot of folks now sitting in those seats now. Now that should be part of the issues that they're dealing with, the ones you're talking about.
Well, we need to pick people based on
the job
and their ability to perform the job.
I'm agreeing with you, and they've got nice, healthy size people of color sitting out there that didn't get picked.
You're right.
So guess what?
You're right.
Committee, do your job. But before we leave that piece, let's go back to the water piece, pressure aspect of it.
Yeah.
You know, the first thing I thought about when they brought that piece up about the pressure.
The pressure,
and how the pressure continues with that water tower aspect of it. And it's all built on water. The water has to go in there, right? But they got drinking water going in there.
Yeah.
They got an ocean sitting right next to the side of the deal. Why couldn't they have had two tanks there? One salt water tank.
Yeah, you would think.
And then all of the so-called standing structures and whatever.
Well, where do you think they're drawing the water from now? Their planes are flying over the ocean, scooping up the water and dropping it on the land.
But if the tanks were already there,
you're right. Well, you're right. If the tanks were already there,
you have two. Because see, normally on every street, right, there's a water, whatever,
fire hydrant.
Fire hydrant, big ones, right? Yep. They could have two. One blue, one red.
You're right. But that requires forethought. And that requires pre-planning. And that requires some actual... Well, I don't want it. I stopped myself from saying but that requires people actually thinking about preventing.
Well, we've got some of those folks in the employee rank. We got planners. Every city has a planner.
You're right.
In planning group. So that should be part and parcel. Send it to the committee, right?
Yeah.
We need a tank. Here in Oregon, We've got the Columbia River sitting right here, right in the city of Portland.
Gushing.
Okay, gushing for days, right? Sometimes overflowing, okay? Boom, those tanks. There should be tanks in there just from the Columbia River, right?
I agree.
And none of it's fresh water.
Fresh water, yes.
Right.
And that water could maybe even be diverted to California. Who knows?
Well, no, they got an ocean sitting right there.
You're right. But there's lots of water
coast.
coming from Canada that we're benefiting from, but that the rest of this side of the country
I'm agreeing
could
with
vote.
All we have to do is see. There's more water than land here, on this earth.
Yeah, you're right. There is.
There should be no such thing as a lacking for water. Okay, you got me?
Well, and if they're worried about whether or not the water's got salt in it or not, they could desalinate the water if they really wanted to.
But my point.
But they're not doing that.
But again, that's for the drinking part. But over here, they should have had all the water that they wanted, if you will. You got my point?
Yeah.
They could have even had a sprinkler, if you will, at the front of the Santa Ana wind, that when it starts, if there's any fire, you just push the little button and the water just gushes up there and goes right back into the ocean.
Yeah.
All kind of creative kind of deals, right? You got me? All you needed was water.
Well, let's talk about one of the prevailing theories on how these fires started. Okay, so
we don't know that yet.
We don't know that, but some people are theorizing that it was started by the homeless. And they've got a major population of homeless down in the city of Los Angeles. Do they not?
Yeah.
They do. And bringing it back to Oregon, we have a large population of homeless in the city of Portland. And how often is our fire department going and taking care of fires that are set by the homeless? What's the percentage? I would bet, I don't know the numbers, I would bet half of the fires started in the city of Portland are by the homeless.
Well, wait a minute. But at the same time, you got folks that are kind of like not adhering to some of the just hazardous area kind of things about what they do. People driving along the freeway and whatever, smoking a cigarette or a cigar, and you just throw it out there into the brush.
You're right.
Okay, that happens.
But I have actually witnessed on I-5, I have witnessed a bridge with vines hanging off of it caught on fire because there was a homeless encampment underneath it with a raging fire that was uncontrolled.
Okay.
So who's to know if these fires in Los Angeles couldn't have been from an uncontrolled homeless fire? We don't know, but this is how I'm relating it to us.
I understand.
We have this issue in Portland with the homeless that this is a beautiful city. We both agree. Very green, very beautiful. We're blessed with water in the city of Portland. But when it gets hot and it's dry, we could have a serious problem with fire in the city of Portland. What is our city government?
That's right.
What is our state government?
What's the plan? That's
preventative
right. That's right.
measures
That's right.
to ensure that the city of Portland
Are you hearing
doesn't
that?
burn?
The new city council folks, hey, look at it. I know you don't have anything to do right now. You're looking for things to do, right? Guess what? We just had to.
California's our example. California's our example.
Right.
They didn't start preventative measures, and look what happened to them.
That's right.
Let's start looking at the city of Portland.
And we got the slough running right here in the middle of Portland. We got the Columbia River coming straight through.
We got the Columbia River at the north. We've got the Willamette coming through.
And all they do, just put a pipe in there, and put hydrants all over the place. Put the water tower, get the other water tower. We can do it right here. Put the water tower squarely. And when you think about the water tower, you think about the other thing about what possibly created the fire, just like in the Hawaii aspect of it. They say it was an electrical deal. Remember that?
Yeah.
They talked the electrical piece aspect of it. Why? Because all the wires are exposed. Well, look here. But in all due respect, you go into these wealthy areas, the wires...
There's no fire. There's no poles.
There's no poles.
They're all underground.
They're all on the ground. Look here. The PGE, where's some of that money? You can spend some of that money to put those wires on the ground. They don't want to put them in other areas and whatever. You got my point? And those things are constantly, every winter, they're falling.
Yeah.
Every winter.
If we get,
put them in the ground.
Thank God that we haven't had the freeze that we had last year, right?
That's right.
But the damage done by the freeze could spark electrical fires,
That's right.
like
But
you're saying.
every year. So my point is that we need the water to go underground to the tanks, and one faucet, and maybe in every neighborhood, in each corner. Let's put it that way. You got a block, right? You got 4 corners. Bang, 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 bang. You got the water. And by the way, if it's possible, you may want to put some faucets near those deals, just in case a person has to go over the water with their hose. You know what I mean? And demand that every house has a 100-foot hose, if you will, as a part of the requirement.
Okay.
And they inspect them. 100 feet.
Yeah.
One in the backyard and one in the front yard. Okay, I do that right now, we do that right now on the houseboats.
Right.
Yeah, we got to have them. You got to have them. You know what I mean?
Well, but you're also on water, so.
Yeah, but still, we have to have the hose.
Yeah, there you go.
Water just doesn't come up and say, "Oh, let's splash the house." So anyway, the point of the matter is, people have been pretty wealthy right now. From the standpoint, some folks have more wealth than the others, and they've got those jobs. And in many ways, they're not thinking about the
but wealthy people are affected by these fires just like everybody else.
Oh, yeah.
Most of those houses are multi-million-dollar homes down in the Palisades.
Especially now.
Well, they're gone now.
But they burned. But I saw one guy in one of the news. He was just sitting across the street. He and his neighbor just talking, and his house is burning up for days. And he said, "Oh yeah, my Mercedes got burned." And looking at the Mercedes, and before the fire got there, engulfed the Mercedes, he just let it just sit there, and it just started burning up and whatever. He said, "Oh yeah, insurance company to pick up the tab. What the hell?" I said, but what about?
Well, several actors have homes down in that area, right?
Yeah.
James Woods.
Yeah.
He lost his home.
Yeah.
And he's now figuring out, well, what's going on? Why wasn't this prevented? What was going on? And he said,
did anyone ask him
being...
the question? Did they ask him the question about, well, are you going to get your house rebuilt by the insurance company?
I don't know if he mentioned that.
No, he didn't. No, they didn't.
But he did mention this one thing. When it comes down to when your house is on fire, when the city's on fire, you stop worrying about if you're a Democrat or Republican or the color of your skin. Yeah. You're just all neighbors.
That's right.
And you're just looking out for each other.
But if you got insurance, just get out and get a hotel. Remember, that was one of them that said, one of them asked, well, yeah, the hotels are all full. They rented the moment they said fire, those hotels were gone.
Well, but they also evacuated large numbers of people very quickly to the point where they couldn't get out.
No, I understand that, but where did they go?
To the hotels, probably.
No, other areas too. Some just got on a plane and just said, "Look, I'll be back with my house."
Because they have the money.
If you got the money, you see.
They got the money.
So the key is that we're a wealthy country. You know what I mean? We use 6%.
Some areas more than others.
Yeah, we people have made money for quite some time, and first there was a small percentage of rich folks. Then that number increased. Look, you can get on your computer and you basically look at all of the folks. They're constantly talking about billionaires, constantly, day in and day out, billionaires, multimillionaires. I mean, I'm thinking about our local congressman that we brought up the issue of the Caesar French. My friend, but that's the way the system is right now. We've got a congressman getting ready to come back. He's going to put together a committee. He's going to be working at Portland State, drawing a check.
Oh yes, we talked about him last time.
Drawing a check, and you can Google his name. You can Google his name and say, well, look at how much. What's his net worth? Earl Blumenauer.
So
he's still a congressman. He's still in his seat right now.
As of September 17th, 801 billionaires based in the United States, with a combined wealth total.
Yes.
Listen to this: $6.22 trillion.
Oh my God! What if you just tax them 10% of that real quick? That's how many trillions is that?
10%. That would be $622 billion, wouldn't it not?
10% what? How much?
Of $6.22 trillion.